Sometimes healing doesn't arrive as a lightning bolt, listeners. It shows up as a shaky breath, maybe a pause before a reaction, or a choice to be gentle, compassionate with ourselves, even when life has been anything but gentle. Welcome back, listeners, to the Mindful Living Podcast. I'm your host, Sana, and this is a space to slow down, tell the truth, and practice presence together. Now, today's conversation it holds heavy realities but real hope out there, listeners. Our guest has done more than survive a system that failed her. She has built a life that refuses to be defined by it. Before we begin, a content note to everyone: we may reference trauma, including abuse, loss, and other sensitive themes. So please take care of yourself, hit pause, breathe, step away if needed, because your nervous system matters here. And what we will explore is it is not about rainbows and denial or fluff. It is about conscious healing, how mindfulness can become a practice of dignity, boundaries, embodiment, and choice. So, if you are listening in the thick of it, I want you to hear this. Your story is not over, your journey is not over. You are allowed to go slow, you are allowed to be safe. So, listeners, meet my incredible guest, Adriene Caldwell. So, Adrienne, welcome to the show, and it is such an honor to have you once again here with us.
Thank you, Sana. It is a privilege to be here. Thank you. I am Adriene Caldwell. I am the author of the book Unbroken: Life Outside the Lines. It's the story of my life from early childhood to early 20s. And during this time, I was either the witness to or the victim of the sexual assault of a young girl, the drowning death of a child, emotional and physical abuse, extreme poverty, mental illness, homelessness, horrifically abusive foster care, bulimia, drug and alcohol addiction, pedophilia, death, suicide, and incest. So I can absolutely relate to the need to be mindful about how I am going through my day-to-day life.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Adrienne, for the introduction. And uh, one thing that comes to my mind, is specifically around mindfulness. Uh, Looking at all what is happening right now around us, it's kind of, I don't know, very, very strange, very challenging. When the world has been unsafe, mindfulness, it can sound abstract. And another aspect is that, as a society, as we call civilized humans, we kind of do not want to get uncomfortable. We just want to be like, in those chambers or boxes where to us everything is, yeah, it's all good, just move on, and just forget everything and deal with it and move on. In the real moments, Adrian, flashbacks, panning, spiraling, what does safety look like in your body, and how did you learn to recognize it?
So coming from the life, the childhood and adolescence that I had, I have been forced to, well, forced isn't the right word. I have made the decision to grow from everything that happened to me, to not let it define me. And when I'm triggered, there are things that I do. Um, One is I get out of my head. I go take a walk, I go to the gym, I do something physical, and it helps extract me from that triggering moment. Another thing that I do is I put on happy, positive music. Music is one thing that can actually trigger me. If I'm not careful, music can start a spiral for me. And I don't know if that's common or not, but it is one of the strategies that I use when I'm feeling overwhelmed. So I hope that helps.
No, it does. It does. And I agree with you. I'll come to the movement part, but before that, yes, music does because uh, even the people who have created the music, they might also would want to express their darkest moments or their darkest thoughts as well through music. However, I think there's also a kind of mindfulness practiced in the choice of music that we are going to listen to because it touches to the deepest levels of our heart, our emotions. So, yeah, I think that's something very, very crucial that you mentioned. And also, movement is, I think, it's one of the best ways, um, to clear our thoughts, clear our mind, to have that clarity once again. And I think that's why through both of these practices, mindfulness can be practiced beautifully, without doing any extra work in there, or, as people would imagine that, this is this huge, some kind of learned person can only practice mindfulness. So I think that is really, really grounding, Adrian.
Thank you. Thank you. I hope it's helpful to others, to your audience.
Now let's try to understand conscious healing here, Adrian. You have said you are not selling sunshine. What, in your experience, is the difference between consciously healing and simply coping well enough to get through the day?
Absolutely. I would say emotional engagement. Your emotional engagement is one of the one of the components, if you will, one of the differences um, between conscious healing and just just going through the
Mm,
motions. And for me, it's been very easy for me to compartmentalize the traumas that I've gone through and repress. And I I go to a place where I'm emotionally numb, where I'm not I'm not in touch with, I'm not in tune with my emotions. It's like there's a veil
mm,
or a gauze that separates me from my that separates my conscious self from the the real me, the conscious and subconscious. So being numb is, I think, the difference, one of the key differences between the two.
mm, mm. So basically, like, when we are like consciously healing, we are acknowledging the pain, the trauma, those flashbacks, and those trigger moments. However, coping, is like, as you perfectly said, it's like, putting just a veil on that. And I think that's where people have so many misconceptions around healing. That's, it is not possible after a certain point of time. You once again get back into that rabbit hole. And, then all that discussion around drugs and addiction. And um, sometimes, people would also call it like a trauma dumping. So I think that is very important to address here, acknowledge here.
I spent decades self-medicating and to numb myself. And it's been relatively recent within the last 7, 8 years of my life that I've actually engaged with the emotions arising from my history, as well as just the day-to-day life. That numbness doesn't it at least for me, it's not just about the emotions of the past or the events of the past and dealing with them, but it also affects my day-to-day, uh,
Mhm.
going numb. And I think that does me a disservice. It
Mhm.
doesn't allow me the joy and the happiness and the freedom, uh, that I otherwise might feel. I'm protected. I'm safe. Emotionally, I'm not vulnerable, but I think I risk losing some of the joy and the happiness.
Mm. Yeah, I agree. I agree. Now coming on to I th- what I uh, think here, Adrian, that when we take account of the individual experiences, sometimes we kind of do not want to acknowledge that there's a lot of systemic harm as well. Like for you, foster care, institutional failures, poverty, and it can steal agency. So I'm really curious to know, Adrian, where did your sense of choice begin to return, and what boundary or decision made you think that okay, I'm now driving. I'm driving now.
So I am a very strong-willed person, even when it comes to myself.
Mm,
And there have been points along my life. It's not a singular moment,
mm,
but multiple points throughout my life where I make decisions and I hold fast to them. Um, an example was in college, I
mm,
got addicted to cocaine. And uh, it was a short time frame. At the end of around 5 months, I realized I had the realization that if I
mm,
continued down this path, I
mm,
was going to ruin my life. And I I was a rabid uh, user. I it made me feel happy. It made me feel light.
mm,
Um, it was amazing. I mean, there's a reason people get addicted to it. There's a reason I got addicted to it, and I realized that continuing down that path was going to jeopardize the life that I wanted for myself. And
mm,
I said, "That's it. I'm done. I am never doing this again. I do not do drugs." And I stopped. It was not easy. It actually took me going and living with the family that I lived with in high school in Germany.
mm,
I went back because it took me out of the environment where cocaine was available. Um, the people I knew at school, the people I had been hanging around with, I I separated myself from them, and
mm,
I did go through a form of withdrawal. I endured the cravings, and it was miserable.
mm,
But I knew that I had to do that for myself, and I knew what was at risk. I knew what was in jeopardy, and I stopped. I never did it again. and alcohol. Eh, I'm I have a very addictive well, I either have a very addictive personality or, all of the traumas I have gone through, I've looked for other ways of coping, uh, the self-medicating component, and I I came to the point, with alcohol where I said, "I'm done. This is taking me down the wrong path again." And there have been other, uh, decisions. When my daughter was born, she was born August 7th, and it it actually in one of my psych evaluations that's available on my website, Unbroken Caldwell, it quotes me as saying that I am terrified of having children because I am scared that I will do to him or her what was done to me. And the the terror of becoming a parent, I told my husband, I said, "Take her, take our daughter, go with your parents and raise her. I can't do it." And I said this repeatedly until November 8th. So she was born August 7th, but on November 8th, I woke up. I was passed out on the floor of the bathroom. I was laying on the bath mat, and I made the decision that I was able to parent her, that I was able to raise her, and that I would give her a childhood that I did not have. And I did. From that moment forward, I I stopped drinking. I did not drink, do not drink to this day. I don't. And I got my life in order. I stopped allowing myself to use excuses and I put in the work. And I am very proud to say that I have a beautiful 20-year-old daughter. She's currently at university. She's studying to become a teacher. And of course, so much she has done for herself, and she has not had the perfect childhood that I envisioned. Her father, my husband, passed away when she was 10 years old. So it wasn't the perfect childhood that I wanted to give her, but I will say that I did the best that I could. So, yeah, being strong-willed, not just with other people or the environment or changing things to how I want them to be, but changing myself, making decisions and holding myself accountable to those decisions. It's not easy by any means,
Mm.
but it it's been crucial in my life, multiple times within my life.
Mm. A lot of thoughts. One thing which I'll say, Adrian, that yes, you are such a strong-willed human because um it's kind of has been people get to hear um life stories or journeys of people who have um been affected by addiction, drugs, alcohol, or anything, who would have given up. Um, However, I think it definitely was possible because of your strong will. And secondly, from the parenting perspective, I think um, many of us, we do dread about not able to be a perfect parent because of our, maybe past experiences or our present circumstances or the way we are. But I think in the end, because you were there, you are there to show up for your daughter, that's what it all matters. That you are there to show up for her. So I think that's more than just being a perfect parent.
Thank you. Thank you.
And before we wrap up, Adrian, you offer hope without pretending the past didn't happen. We got to witness that right now. We got to hear that right now. How do you speak hope responsibly um, to yourself and also to others who are still in the storm?
Mm. How do I speak hope?
Mhm.
Well, for me, it, in my journey, it I'm not sure. I'm not sure how I speak hope. Um, it's it's been a long journey. It's been a hard journey,
Mm,
but I I am now living a life that I could have never dreamed I would live. It's something that I've wanted, and maybe for that reason I've made decisions. Um, being hopeful doesn't mean being in denial about what's presently happening.
mm,
I think that that's an important point to make. That they can coexist. You can be in a situation or circumstances that are difficult, but still retain hope. Not naive, not naive, unbridled,
mm,
but a more authentic, real hope that you can make decisions that are going to decisions like not drinking, like not doing drugs, not
mm,
self-medicating, or taking steps to further your education or to pursue a career, a vocation. You can make these decisions that will impact your life positively, that you are in charge of your own life. And it's a duality, taking accountability for what you can control and accepting what you cannot. I think those are points about remaining hopeful despite your situation or a negative circumstance. And that's what I've done.
That's so well said, Adrian. Yes, because you have lived it. And that's why I think it couldn't be, I would not hesitate to say it couldn't have been more perfect than this. Hope that is there irrespective of whatever situation is there. Not denying, but acknowledging. But yes, there is still hope. And I think that's honest hope. It's doable, not performative. So, Adrian, once again, if our listeners they would like to connect with you and um, get access to what you are sharing and your book as well, what would be the best way?
Sure. So, Unbroken Life Outside the Lines is available at any major book retailer, Amazon, Barnes and Noble. And I would encourage readers, the book will be released in December, but if you would like to see a preview, go to my website, unbrokencaldwell.com, and sign up, just your name and email, and I'll send you the prologue and chapter one. and that'll give you a taste. Anyone who would like to connect with me on social media, I am on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn at Unbroken Caldwell. So, yes, and I welcome any kind of feedback or sharing stories even that your audience may choose to do. It's been a privilege to be with you, Sana, again. And yeah, thank you for having me.
Thank you. I should really thank you, Adrienne. Thank you. Um, and also thank you for trusting us with your story and also for modeling a form of hope, that doesn't gaslight reality. I had to use that word, but yes, it is worth
Perfectly
exactly
said.
that.
I agree 100%. That's the perfect word for it.
And to all the listeners, if today brought things up for you, please take a moment to ground, feel your feet, feel your body. Name 5 things you see or you feel or you sense, you smell, you see, or you the air. Sip water, like you get to choose what supports look like. Maybe text a friend, journal, step outside, or seek professional help if available. Because as you know, everyone says, and as I would say, you are not alone, and you're not behind. Healing isn't linear; it is cyclical. It is wise. So keep returning to your breath, not because it fixes everything, but because it brings you back to you. It is your homecoming. Until then, this is the Mindful Living. I'm your host, Sana, and thank you to everyone for being here.